All right, everyone, as mentioned, we're joined by Dynamo head coach Ben Olsen. We'll start with opening remarks. Ben, starting the road trip with today's match against Minnesota, what do you take away from today's match?
Let me just give me a second and look at this data real quick. Overall, I think it's a game we'll look back on, and we'll have found out a little bit more about ourselves, and there were some new players out there, and again, I think there's once again enough opportunities and situations where we can get something out of the game. But there was a few guys were a little off, and not every guy showed up today and played at the level that we needed them to be at to get something. That's a little disappointing. But overall, again, another game that we continue to kind of learn about ourselves and who we are and what we're good at and what we're not, what we need improvement on. And again, this process is going to go on in the ups and downs of a season, and we got to stay positive, but also hold each other accountable and just keep pushing. So we can a quick turnaround to Dallas, so it's taking care of the minds and the bodies, and it's nice to get back on the horse in a few days, and we'll get some players back through suspensions, and I think a lot of players got on that field that haven't played in a bit, and some of them fared well and some of them didn't. And that's kind of this process right now.
Thank you for that. I'll add one more before we take questions from Zoom. What do you take from today's performance from Ali Ibrahim, his first start in the league?
I think he's a handful, and we had some pace out there, in the front line, probably the most pace we've had up in this season. Him and Nelson both, I think, caused them a lot of trouble down that left side. He hits the bar. He's unlucky not to get the goal. And so overall, a really good shift from him. And we're looking forward to more of that and him improving as he gets more minutes with the team.
We'll open it up to questions on Zoom. Please use the raise my hand option. We'll start with Victor. Victor, go ahead.
Ben, what positives do you take away from this game?
Well, I'm looking at 12 shots, 4 on target, 8 shots inside the box, 1 post. So there was, there was that, that we definitely had opportunities again to see it play out or get on the score sheet. I take away positives of seeing a bunch of guys on the field, new guys, Ibrahim. I thought Nelson had some good moments. Sebas Ferreira, I thought, came in and did really well. Thor got some looks. So a lot of guys that haven't had minutes are now, we're getting them on the field, and we're evaluating them to continue to, as I said before, learn a little bit more about ourselves. And it's still very early in this process for us. And each game, as I said before, we get to find out what we're good at and where we need some improvement. And so those are the positives. But we lost, so a lot of that is overshadowed by 0 points, and so that stings a bit.
Obviously,
Steve Clark was great. Steve Clark was also, I thought, had a really good night. I thought Mika, had another good night, another good performance. So here's a guy who's coming in. Brad Smith got more minutes, so he's still a hair rusty, but he's getting there. And each game he looks better and better.
double match week, obviously quick turnaround to the FC Dallas game. Where do you see the team motivation-wise, anemically? How do you see them?
Where do you see us? Where do I see us motivational-wise?
It's just the complexion of the team. Obviously, coming off to back-to-back defeats, but you got the Texas Derby right around the corner. Just how do you see the complexion of your team?
I think we should be hungry. We should be able to, have the mentality to respond from, to losses. It's the first time we've had that this year. So again, just an opportunity to fix it. And the good news is we can do that very quickly in 2 days against a very good opponent as you said, a Texas Derby. So yeah, well, I think right now the locker room's disappointed. You lose, it's not a lot of fun. But by tomorrow, all focus will be on Dallas, and we'll get cracking on them and give them our best shot.
Anything else for Ben before we wrap up here? Okay, we'll close with that one. Ben,
Thank you,
very
guys.
much. All right, everyone, we're joined by Dynamo goalkeeper Steve Clark. Steve, we'll just start with opening remarks in terms of today's performance. What do you take away from today's game against Minnesota?
Yeah, midweek away, it's going to be always a difficult game. I thought we were pushing for the goal, and I think that we were a bit unlucky not to, nip one at the end there. But we move on to Dallas.
And for that, we'll open it up to questions on Zoom. If you have a question for Steve, please use the raise my hand option. We'll start with Victor. Go ahead, Victor.
Steve, obviously disappointed to get the loss, but what positives do you take away from this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can take away the fact that we were at one and we kept it there. We pushed for the tying goal instead of I think it was a game where it was easy to fold up as a team, but I think we showed some grit to stay in it. I think that the group of players, as players, need to refocus and perform on Sunday.
Do you think it's just the one mistake? Obviously the goal against that's pretty much the only thing that. Well, I mean, it is on the scoreboard, but do you feel that it was a pretty even game throughout?
Well, obviously the way they scored their first goal, I think isn't the way we want to concede. But I mean, I was happy to make some saves for the guys. And I'm able to do that. I'm going to be able to do that, throughout the season. So I think that the stats are pretty good for us. I looked at the statistics. So, I mean, there's some positives to take from it, but again, there's not a lot of time to think about it. It's about moving on for us.
How do you see the team? Obviously back-to-back losses here, maybe a tough stretch. But Texas Derby up next. Where do you see the team lined up before this big game?
Yeah, I mean, the nice part about games that come very frequently is there's a nice chance to go get 3 points on Saturday versus a good team away again. And we're going to be up for that challenge for sure.
Thanks, Steve.
Anything else for Steve before we wrap up? Okay, Steve, thank you very much.